And welcome everyone to another exciting adventure on the Riding Through the Unknown. Almost had a wrong title there moment. I am so honored and blessed to have this guest on with me tonight. And funny story for you all that I will share before I turn it over to my awesome guest is I have been on her show 3 times, I think now, and I have memory of her being on my show and went to create the thumbnail and realized I had to ask her for all the information because she has not been on my show yet. And so it was kind of funny to have memories of a show that never happened until now. And so, was it a premonition? I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But with that being said, I am going to turn it over to my amazing guest who is a moderator and so much more. She hardly needs an introduction, but I'm going to allow her to do one anyway. I give you the one, the only, super talented, super amazing, super knowledgeable AnchorHaven.
Wow, Michael, what an introduction. That's amazing. Thank you for having me on your show. Yes, I've never been on your channel yet. It's my very first time. So I am AnchorHaven. Hi everybody. I feel weird doing my own bio now. That feels really weird. So yeah, I'm a moderator on quite a few channels, including Typical Skeptic, and on my channel, it's AnchorHaven, the Mystical Wellness channel. So we look at all things weird and wonderful, and generally we do it very early in the morning as well. It's just our new routine. I am a holistic therapist. I'm a world traveler. I'm a quantum crystal healer. I'm an experiencer, and I've lived all over the world. So yeah, so we can get into absolutely anything that you'd like to get into tonight. I absolutely do not mind. Yeah.
Well, and I do have to say, welcome to the other side of the table, so to speak. And so, thank you for being a guest tonight. I know it was short notice, so thank you for doing this. And one thing I think would be interesting to start out with is in your bio, you talk about being not only an Akashic Oracle Weaver, but a Pendulum Alchemist. So,
Okay.
can you give a little bit of background to
Sure.
help people understand what that means and how you got started with it?
So the Akashic Oracle reading goes hand in hand with the Pendulum Alchemy. So this is an Akashic, here we go, Akashic Oracle Pendulum from pendulumalchemy.com. And I, as a crystal therapist, we work with pendulums. As an oracle, I work with pendulums for divination. But when we do alchemy, we work with pendulums to change the world, to absolutely change things in your timeline. So we kind of drop into any messages, themes, or energies that are impacting your life. And if they're unwanted, then I command change in the quantum field. So a lot of people say that you can't update the Akashic records. That's not true. You can update them, and I do it with command, and I do it with my pendulum as well. So I work with this, the Akashic Oracle. So yeah, so I basically, my pendulum has its own consciousness now. This one is called Asclepius. So we've got the staff of Moses, along with, we've got that snake there, the Kundalini snake, Asclepius healing snake. And I work with the pendulum to move energy in and around you. And I work with the pendulum to release any old oaths, vows, agreements, contracts, and things that are in your timeline. And we command it together and we release it out with ease, very, very quickly. So I work with the rotation of energy through your different timelines, yeah, and then we anchor into your Akashic records that highest timeline, that firmest kind of pathway that you're on. I help you anchor that in. Yeah.
Very cool. And one thing I'm kind of curious about, and you and I talked about this recently, is how we've noticed a trend where a lot of super soldiers and SSP, MILAB, participants or survivors, however you want to look at it, are into crystals, but
Yeah.
also noticed a lot of them are into the spiritual world. And do you think there's a connection to why that is?
Um, That's quite an interesting question because I know some super soldiers who are not spiritual at all. And they literally
Right.
consider that to be complete woo. And they don't want anybody who is psychic or whatever to be in the super soldier community. They don't want that. They think of psionic as in psychic in action, right? The military term. But some of them are not spiritual at all. So I've got a mixture in my friend group of super soldier or MILABs who are, one or the other. So they don't always gel. I think it's people like you, myself, who are holistic therapists that bring that together. So when we look at people who've been through the experiences, we're looking how to heal it. So our primary focus is on trauma healing. Yeah, and there's quite a few people that I work with on my channel who are grounded in trauma healing. And so we'll bring something forward, but our primary focus is on healing the heart, healing the body, healing the memory. And not all super soldiers are like that. A lot of them are just kind of, this is what's happened and I want to share it. I want to get it out. I want to educate people. But our focus is slightly different because we're really focusing on, okay, how can we take grounded steps forward and do that deep shadow work to make sure that we move forward in ease and joy and things like that. So it's very different. So I don't believe everybody's spiritual, and that's okay. But some of us are light workers, light warriors, so we have a different perspective. Even though we're still experiencers, we're still MILABs and super soldiers and super scientists as well. So I have a big background as super scientist. So
Right. And
shout out to everyone in the chat. I just
I
found the right
kind of
chat.
misspoke because I have a mix as well, and I didn't mean it to sound like every single person is this. So I apologize for that.
No. It's interesting because out of my friend group who are super soldiers, there's one in particular that sticks out of like, I'm not having any of that woo nonsense. Do you know what I mean? And then so
Yeah.
there's a couple who are really just not interested in it. And I think I remember seeing a post from another super soldier, and they said, "Oh, I wish the psychics would just get their own community and stay out of the experiencer community and stuff." Yeah, but we're a blend. It's a blend of everybody. So I think we're here as holistic therapists to really support the healing aspect of that trauma journey. It's a trauma healing journey. Yeah, and that's important, I think.
It is. And one of the things, too, talking about being on a healing journey, that it kind of, when I saw it, it was like, I kind of was like, I've never heard of this. And so I'm curious how it relates, being a Reiki master myself, the Violet Flame Reiki Master.
Mm,
What
yeah.
what is the Violet Flame aspect to it, and how does it work and differ from other Reiki?
Yeah, it's a completely different modality to what's out there. So Violet Flame Reiki is a more ancient, in a way, an older aspect of healing, and it comes from the goddess Guan Yin. This is my little Guan Yin, my lady. And the original master who basically channeled it through was called Ivy Moore. And so Ivy was looking for a way, she's already a Reiki master, she's looking for a way to level up her healing practices, to make traditional Reiki faster and more effective. But she was also looking for a way to advance on her spiritual healing journey. And so she did kind of rosary, she did mantras to Guan Yin for a long period of time. And then one day she started to receive these symbols, these sacred sigils. So over a period of a couple of weeks, she received 40 sacred symbols. And I've got some here, actually, I can show you. As I put them onto cards. We also put them onto runes as well. So these are ancient symbols of oneness to connect with the violet flame. And the violet flame comes in as a force of compassion because we're working with the goddess Guan Yin. Well, then you've got that violet flame of transmutation, transformation. So we still work with Saint Germain because he is a keeper of the violet flame in this realm. But before him, Guan Yin was the keeper for 3,000 years. Guan Yin was the keeper of the violet flame. So I do consider myself to be an anchor, a keeper of the violet flame in this realm. I also have a violet flame chakra, which allows me to open a multidimensional gateway to access the violet flame and the violet flame rescue flames in all realms of existence. So there's another aspect of that I do. But violet flame Reiki, I'm just going to pick a couple of cards with the sigils on to see what comes out. So I actually do divination with these now to see what kind of healing is required in somebody's body, and I work with them for healing, but also for kind of to see what's going on in your pathway. So this symbol, there we go. This is a symbol from Violet Flame Reiki, and it is a conscious key to bring calm and to heal nervous disorders. So I work with these, and when I teach Violet Flame Reiki, I teach it as a mastery program. There are 4 levels and 40 symbols. So I teach this as like a 12-week course that we go together. We do, I kind of teach it in an Atlantean fashion. So we do very deep meditation journeys, and we work with ethereal crystal energy, but we communicate with these symbols. And I take you into a violet flame temple that I've created with my guides in like the 5th dimension, like an ethereal space. So we go in to do initiation, to do very deep healing journeys, to connect with the guides and guardians. So for me, it's a Reiki mastery program that levels up Reiki masters, because originally it was only ever taught to Reiki masters. That was the condition of it. It was for the Reiki master's next step was to go really deep with the violet flame. And when we bring in the violet flame, we can transform things into divine love, or we can just transmute things. But I generally transform things back into love or back into healing energies that surround you. But violet flame Reiki mastery, this is return to transcendental consciousness. So this looks kind of reversed on the screen. But the symbols out of that 40, there are only for the master practitioner. There are some symbols that are to really level you up, to access your higher chakra gate system, and to go into kind of that nirvana, that Shambhala, that like, you know, that oneness with the universe. So it's a really amazing system. I do a lot of different Reikis. I've literally been activated in more than 30 different Reiki empowerments. So traditional Reiki is just the beginning. There's so much more that you can access. And there's people channeling new Reiki energies all the time. And some of them are ancient, like the Guanyin Reiki, the Violet Flame Reiki. But I have what I call my Violet Flame Temple training program. So I remember being a Violet Flame priestess in Atlantis. I remember it. I remember being in a temple with Saint Germain. Yeah, I remember teaching the violet flame with crystals and activating children, like young priestesses and priests. I remember doing that. So, I'm getting lots of energy coming now. So when I work with keepers of the violet flame. So I work with Guanyin. I work with Saint Germain. I also work with Archangel Zadkiel, Jeremiel, and other angels, and we bring in, especially on level 3, which was starting this week actually, so I teach it one evening a week. I have a mastery program, and on level 3 what I've done is I've advanced the course. I've advanced it to make it more not more powerful in a way, but more inclusive. So on level 3, we bring in the connection to unicorns, to dragons. So you can see how the energy changes when you bring in these angelic beings to support you with the violet flame. So the violet flame is so much more than people realize. And there's not just one flame, there's many flames, and there's reservoirs on the planet. There's cathedrals on the planet. There's ethereal spaces of the violet flame on the planet. But I connect into the violet flame planet, which is governed by Omri Tas. So I literally keep refilling the violet flame energies on the planet. That's one of my jobs. And there's quite a few violet flame priests and priestesses on the planet that do that. So we just become that anchor point, that anchor node for these energies to keep flourishing on the planet. Yeah, so it's exciting. I love working with the violet flame. So, and those that are drawn to me to work with the violet flame, or those that are sent to me, by Saint Germain, they've worked with it before. You've always worked with the violet flame. So if you're drawn to it and you're not really sure why, it's because it's always been there. When people have scanned my energetic field, they've seen that I have a violet flame in my heart center. Yeah, my sister Suzanne, she has a sapphire flame in her heart center. So we call her Suzanne Sapphire Soul. Yeah, so, but I literally have it. When you look at my aura is completely violet. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but when I was like a teenager, I read an article where a doctor had published when he was doing heart surgery on several patients that when he would move the heart, that there was a violet flame in the body, literally, like there. And I always like heard that, and I was like, that's, interesting. And I've often wondered, if that flame is there, what happens if it goes out, or can it go out, or and then and then on a personal note, when I was first learning energies, I would use the violet flame, and it would like heat up my body. So if I was feeling cold, I would just say violet flame activate, and I would be warm.
That's quite interesting, because when I work with the violet flame, it's cold. It's a very cold energy. It's because it's so hot, it's ice cold. And we even have a symbol that's called winter ice. So we work with fire and ice on violet flame Reiki. So I don't believe that the flame can go out. If you have it within you, it's a sign that you've basically been initiated in a violet flame temple. Right, but anybody can access violet flame in this realm, but accessing it in the other realms, that does take a bit of support. So you might need an activation for that. I'm just having a look at the chat. I love the purple flame in the heart. Yeah, so a lot of people are drawn to working with it. So I first started working with the violet flame when I was living in India, and I was living in Goa, which is on the west coast. And if you go directly up, you get the crown chakra of the earth. Yeah, so I think I kind of activated because of the proximity to the crown chakra of the earth. So it was really greatly enhanced when I was living in India.
So I know you have so many more modalities and so much more information, and we could go on, but I'm kind of curious because you have something that I have rarely seen on anyone that says they're SSP or MILAB, and that is the diplomatic side.
Okay.
Because when I would talk with like Arkeem Ra and a lot of people when I first came out, I said, do you ever go and do peace treaties? And they're like, no. And so I was like, well, I did. And so was this, not SSP related? And then I saw you had diplomatic functions, and I was like, finally, somebody else that I think did what I did. And so I feel like, okay, now I may, understand it is possible.
Yeah, it definitely is possible. I don't have a huge amount of memories of the diplomatic side of stuff, but I have. So people who were diplomats were literally trained to be assassins as well. Right, so it wasn't one or the other. Diplomats were also trained as assassins. One of my alters actually was trained in surveillance and things like that with John Whitberg's diplomatic alter. I believe it's Heinrich. So we have that shared memory of me being in his classroom, right? So there's that version of me. I call her Lucia at the moment, and I believe she was a double agent, to be honest. That's where I'm going. But there's also, I have a memory. See, this started for me a few years ago when I had a channeled session with a friend, and she channeled this old guide called Morris. And I say that because he's an old gentleman, and you can hear the voice change when this old gentleman comes through. And he was telling me about, this is a few years ago. So I had my mystical wellness studio, which I don't have anymore. But she was thinking about maybe she was going to rent a room or something like that. So you want to make sure I was comfortable with somebody who was channeling a spirit. And so I had an hour or so session with Morris, talking to him directly. And he said, I see you in a room that's like a United Nations of planets. I see you bringing disclosure to many different races. And as he was talking, I saw myself on a ship, and I was Venusian. And I was on a ship that was, and as Venusian, I just looked very Germanic anyway, very blonde hair, very slim, white outfit. I saw myself kind of teaching, like lecturing in this room that had kind of like a roundish table. And so I saw myself there as he was saying that. So that's a different aspect of me, I believe. Might not be related to the SSP at all. But there's a version of me that has a ship that actually travels around as an ambassador, teaching and bringing together kind of first contact maybe, or education of other races. So I don't have a huge amount of memories. It's something that I'm looking into. I have little snippets of things from a few different altars, and I have a lot of clones that I connect into because I'm an echo template. Yeah, so like myself and Drago Reed were used as clone templates. So we've got millions of clones all over the galaxy. Yeah, and probably beyond as well. So yeah, so diplomatic, something I definitely want to get into more. I do have, she's not diplomatic, but she's in the war room on Mars, and that's one of my altars. So she has her own functions, but it's kind of like a Secretary of State on Mars, allegedly. Who knows? I do connect into her telepathically. I'm not entirely sure of her function. I see her in the war room, though. I see her in like an ops room. Yeah, when I connect in.
So I have an interesting question for you that I like to ask guests from the SSP world, because it's something that I don't think really ever gets asked or addressed. And that is, if any, and if not, it's okay. Don't feel like you have to make something up for the point of the show, which I know you'd never do, but I just like to put that claimer out there. Of all your memories and snippets and pieces, what positive do you think came from being through these programs?
Yeah, this is a hard one. This is a hard one because a lot of people are stuck on focusing on the negative. A lot of people get stuck in the training program and they forget to see that we went past that. We did missions, we did time missions, we traveled all over. What positive? Let's see. For me, it's more about talking about other identities. So I have, this is a weird one. So I have an altar of myself called Tabitha. She's the one that's on Elysium, and she's a clone scientist. And working with Ivan Teller, we discovered that I didn't just create clone people, I created flowers and other things on the planet, and they were brought here. So my DNA is supposed to be in daffodils. And when we were discovering this, he had no idea that daffodil is the only flower that I've ever liked. It's the only flower that I've ever wanted to have. If somebody gives me flowers, I'm disappointed that they're not daffodils. Right, so I can really see there's a connection to daffodils there. But I didn't understand why I was so drawn to daffodils. But if they do have an essence of my DNA, then that makes a lot of sense. So why I'm only about daffodils, nothing else. You give me roses, and I'll be like, oh, that's great, thank you. But I'm thinking, oh, they're not daffodils, are they? So right now, daffodils are in bloom, so it's a great time of year for me. But yeah, so she does much more than just creating soldiers or creating slaves, even. So she does really cool things there. So in the programs, I think one of the positives is that we were able to, even though it was under duress and torture, to activate our psionics, to activate those superpowers in a way, to activate other things within you and become more human, more light body. Yeah, so a lot of my skills are light based. I'm a phosphoromancer, which means that I can enhance the plasma, the light around me and within you as well. So yeah, so there's some good things there. Haven't fully thought about what's good about this trauma healing journey that I'm on. So that's a good question. I'm gonna have to think about that one. I'm sure there's plenty of other good things. I could say, hey, I got to travel the galaxy. I got to travel the world. But just looking, and I am a world traveler, but looking back, every single place I went to was connected to a deep underground military base. So is that a good thing? I don't know.
And you still got to see the galaxy.
Yeah, we still get to travel. So
And it was free. We didn't have to pay for tickets.
well, yeah, I guess that's true.
But
Yeah, but no, I think it's important that people focus on past from ages because we were altered in vitro, so before you were born things were going on to age 15 when you get your final kind of martial arts training and stuff. When we go past that, you were still doing so much more. Yeah, so people get stuck in that breaking process. But what happened after that, the time missions that you went on, the places you got to see and whatever, that's what I'm trying to get more memories about, is the time travel projects. Yeah.
right. And on a funny note, for me, it was kind of funny as you were talking about Tabitha with the daffodils. My mind goes, Daffy Duck. I wonder if there's a connection between daffodils and Daffy Duck.
I think he probably did pick daffodils. I don't know. I've not thought
It's,
about that one.
I think it's because it's in the name. It's like,
Yeah.
daffodils are, they make you smile and laugh and feel good. And Daffy
Yeah.
Duck is like this character as ornery and self-absorbed as he is, makes everybody laugh. And so I'm like, I
Yeah.
wonder, if there's
Is
a
that based on
reason
me? Is
Daffy
that an
is.
author? Now that's making me think about Howard the Duck. Have you watched that movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Howard the Duck is a great movie. I hated it when it first came out, but now when you look back and you think, actually, that's super cool, that movie. It got
I
into a lot of
know.
different things, right? Yeah.
And I was so disappointed when Marvel showed Howard the Duck at one of the end of the movies,
Mm.
but never brought him back. I was like,
Yeah.
they're bringing him back, but they're not.
Yeah.
And I felt a little
Yeah.
sad about that.
Yeah. I would have watched it. I would have watched it for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So, another thing that you talk about that I find really interesting, and I'm trying to figure out, is this through the time projects or what, but advanced technology retrieval.
Mm. Yeah. So I have an ability, and it's an active ability as well, to tune into ancient technology on the planet. And I don't have a lot of memories about the program I was in when I did it, but I have a real world experience I'll talk about in a second. But I was in Merge, which is the Monarch Umbrella Refugee Group, with Drago Reed, who is my dyad partner, and my brother also. And we used to go on missions to recover technology. So I have one main memory that I retrieved, which was when I was in the Indian SSP. So I lived in India for a long time, and I discovered a few months ago that I can access some of those memories now. Of basically having a double life in India. I was out there for 10 years, but I was in the Indian SSP for more than 10 years because it was all time dilated. And when I did a vision quest on Sean Bond's channel, we started to really dig in and bring these memories forward. And I basically did a day in the life. I did a day in the life of being in the Indian SSP, from the point that I was portaled out of my bed into a ship above, to going to the base, which was in Hampi in the middle of India. And I saw myself getting off the ship, changing my clothes, going into a briefing. The briefing was about an artifact that needed to be tracked down, right? So I remember seeing the plans and things like that, talking about it in the briefing. So I went on and did kind of like a full day. And then Sean had to pull me out of this memory. He said, that memory's like 10 years. Right, so we went off and went on to Stargate's memories. But in the here and now, when I was reading the book by John Whitberg, The Man with the Periwinkle Eyes, I'm not sure if it was book 1 or 2, but they talk about a particular artifact, and they're going to Asia to recover an artifact. I'm just going to plug in my phone 1 sec. And sorry. So he describes an artifact in the book. And the artifact is a metal pyramid that has a crystal sphere inside. So as I was reading this, I was starting to tune into the energetic signature of this artifact, and I located it on the planet. And there's actually quite a few on the planet. I'm not going to say how many, but I can tune into those artifacts. And when I tracked it down, so I remote viewed it, and I basically went in and connected to the energetic signature of the artifact. I absorbed it into my energetic field, and it's been witnessed by others that I have this artifact in my energetic field. It's taken its place now, so instead of using the heads-up display to view, I can use that artifact to get, because the heads-up display that we have in the left eye implant is dirty technology. It's not the cleanest technology. It's been put there and it messes with your body. But the ancient technology, the pyramid with the sphere, has a lot of different uses. So the one I tuned into, I can imagine that it's on my palm and it'll project out. It's a map. Or I can have it within me and it'll project out through my eyes. But there's loads of these. So once I started to connect into that, I discovered that I could reduce its size, could put it in my pocket like a USB drive. I got a memory of being on a DNA ship, like a genetic research ship, and then I could see that there was these columns, like these helix spiral columns, and these artifacts just slotted in, like a bit like USB drives, just slotting into like a mainframe. So yeah, so I can, and Drago Reed can as well. We have an ability to track down ancient technology. That's one of the main things we were used for in the programs, was to track and trace. Yeah, people and technology. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It does. And one of the things that I find interesting, is we're awakening to all these abilities
Mm.
and awarenesses of all these different aspects of ourselves.
Mm.
I wonder if you had the same effect that I have, and maybe some of the people in the chat group do as well. As you watch a movie and then years go by and you watch the movie again and you're like, wait a minute, how did I miss this the first time I watched it? This is totally talking about this program, and this is representing this. And it's like, wait, how did we miss
Yeah.
this the first time we watched it?
So when did you get your first SSP memories? Because mine, I've only come into context in the last 2 years. So
2023 is when it, like, I got confirmed that it is SSP. I've always had a knowledge
yeah,
of there's something about me that's different, but I didn't know until
yeah,
I went and I saw Tony Rodriguez talk, and I was like, that story just, there was something about his story that was so, to where I was like, I think that's what happened to me
yeah.
as a 20 and back. And a friend of mine was like, yep, that I've thought the same thing, and that's where everything kind of unraveled and started the whole process.
Yeah, so for me, it hasn't been that long. So I was in avoidance for a long time, especially when it comes into connecting into my SSP brother. I was in total avoidance. So I didn't want to watch him, didn't want to hear his voice. I was like, like pushing it away. So I see things now differently because I call it my SSP mind is now activated. Whereas before, I didn't have that perspective, but I'm still drawn to things. And I didn't know why I was drawn to it. I still, like we talked about movies, like The Long Kiss Goodnight. I was drawn to that movie, but I had no idea why. But that totally represents something that I've been through in a way. So yes, you still find that you're making associations. You still like those things. I knew I was the Winter Soldier before I ever saw the Winter Soldier movie. I knew that applied to my life before I even tried to have a QHHD session. So it's only now that I've got an SSP mind that's active, so I can go back and think, I need to rewatch everything. I really do need to rewatch every single
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
And now I can see the programs in it. Now I can see the suggestive programming from the MK Ultra, or it links in. I can see the colors associations now, which is something I do a lot with color therapy, but I never realized the associations until I was watching on John Whitberg's channel his movie review series with The Shining, and he literally states in there that red and gold is this and red and blue is that, and I was like, oh my god. And I got this kind of I got this memory of mint green being important. Mint green somehow meant abuse to me. Somehow that was a trigger when I was watching that. So I thought, oh my god, that's insane. So now, yeah, I look at things very differently now that my SSP mind is activated. But for me, it's been a process of the last 18 months where I've really dug in, because you don't want to think that applies to you. You don't want to think that makes any sense in your world. Why would it? Who are you? You're a nobody, right? Why would you be targeted? So you don't want to think that you're important in some way. You don't want to think that it applies. So I was like that for a long time. Yeah, so it applies,
Yeah.
guys.
And
Unfortunately, it applies. It does, yeah.
it's interesting because, as you like mentioned, two movies for you, The Long Kiss Goodnight and Captain America Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
For me, the first movie that I watched, and I was like, this is disclosure. And it was like the first time I watched it too, was Jupiter Ascending. And I was like, I can't believe they're actually making this movie. And the Tron series, I was like, I just thought, the first movie, I was like, oh, it's an arcade, game turned movie. Nice attempt. And then I was like, wait a minute. Oh no, there is so much more to this movie. And so that's two of mine. And you had another one on your list, didn't you?
Yeah, the other one is Witches of Easter Egg, but Jupiter Ascending, I only watched that quite recently, so I didn't watch that before, so I didn't know. But now when I watch it, of course, it's all about looshing, it's all about, you know, using us as a slave race and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, Witches of Easter Egg is one of my all-time favorite movies, but I never thought of it as a disclosure movie until you said they're all disclosure, and I was like, what? Are you kidding me? So there's an aspect of me that is magical, obviously, because I've got the Mystical Wellness channel. But I've been a witch since I was 8 years old. That's when I got my first broom and black cat and things like that. So people come on my channel and they call me a witch, and I get a bit kind of not offended, but I think I've excelled a little bit more in because I'm 50 now, so I'm a high priestess alchemist is kind of the magical title I go by. But Witches of Easter Egg, I just love that movie. I love the empowerment aspect of that movie. I love that there's a horny little devil that comes into that movie, right? But it kind of shows you that magic does not have to be complex, that it can be as simple as have another cherry. You know, it can be very, very simple magic. Yeah.
For me, it was Dune. The first one, not the remake that they're done, which it's okay, but I think there was a lot more in the I think it was it 1987 version with Kyle MacLachlan, and it was like so long, and it was like yeah, it was so watching it was like that's who I want to be. That's what I want to be like, and I could resonate with that on so many levels. And
Yeah, I don't know if it was June that I watched when I was in Australia. It was more of a might have been more of a series, but it was all about the DNA memory, and that's what gets me. So you can fly fly a plane because your father could fly a plane and stuff like that. Does that apply to June? I don't know if I get two things mixed up with that.
I don't think that is in Dune, but
Okay.
that you know,
Do you know what
I
I'm talking about?
think I might have come across it, but not fully, coming to memory. And Jason's in the group; he may know it.
Yeah, Jason Missing Time 420 is my movie guy. So he literally is like a movie professional, and he knows a lot about everything. He's talking about Full Metal Jacket right now.
Yeah, but there's a scene, with Tron that to me was like the most disclosure esque moment. Is a two-parter, and one is where he's sitting down, and it's the second movie, and his son goes, "What's he doing?" And they said he's knocking on heaven, and he's knocking on the skies. And I thought that was so profound a statement. And then his ability to go in and regenerate her arm with just moving a piece of damaged DNA, and then it just reconstructed itself. I was like, that's like the holographic healing. And so yeah, I was like, boom, that is disclosure right there. That's what we're getting to. And yep, Sting was in that movie. So was Patrick Stewart and a bunch of other celebrities. But it might be because you might have went to a notification or into the chat on your phone and it cut because it won't do both. So we're gonna see if we can't get her back on screen. And do keep in mind one thing is you'll notice that her email or her notification says UK, so she is in the UK, and so it is roughly almost 3 a.m. in the morning there. So I am so grateful and appreciative of her coming on at this hour. And so tech issues will happen. And so we are doing our best to fix it. It might be a good idea, Julia, to maybe log out and try logging back in and seeing if that brings the connection back. I'm not sure. So we'll see if we can't get her back and talk some more about the movies and stuff. In the meantime, everyone in the chat room, if you have a movie or a TV show that you feel like is got disclosure in it, feel free to comment what it is, and we'll bring it up and we'll see about, if it's something we've seen, share it, and if not, we'll check it out and take a look and see what disclosure is there. But while we're waiting for Julie to come back in, I will say with Jupiter ascending, one of the other things was how Channing Tatum's character was able to glide on the air. I just thought that was so cool, and that was something that I have memory of, and so I was like, I could relate to that and how cool it is how you can just glide through the air. Oh, anybody else have any experiences like that with movies? Up, it looks like we have her back.
Hello.
She's back.
Can you hear me? I don't know what happened there. The screen just went completely blue. I didn't touch anything, didn't change anything. It's probably just targeting.
Could be, but yep, we can hear you, and welcome back.
Okay, good. Okay.
And so, when we talk about movies that are disclosure, there's, we have the terms now of soft disclosure, full disclosure, and just disclosure. What do you feel like is the difference between each of those terms? Like, what does that mean to you when you hear that?
For me, soft disclosure is kind of what's just generally out there for everybody to see. Things that you wouldn't expect, like it's on general TV, and so they're just slipping it in there, without people realizing it's disclosure. So there's a lot of that around us all the time. It's a bit like when they leave Easter eggs and things, isn't it? So it's just kind of, it's out there and everyone can see. I don't know. I kind of have a pact with a couple of friends to be full disclosure now, and to basically put everything out there as raw as we can, unedited, unfiltered. And that's what I do in my channel and they do on theirs. Yeah. So it's, I don't know. I think disclosure is important. I think people are going to take what resonates and leave the rest. They're just going to, I don't know, maybe things will mean different things to them at different times. So I've not really thought about it too much. On my channel, I just try and be as authentic as I possibly can. I do not edit anything. I put everything out there as fast as I can. I put diary videos out, so I'm talking things through. If I'm developing a process or something, or if something's happened to me, I do that diary video as fast as I can to document it. So I really do. We try and do like rapid disclosure, just get it all out there, for people to witness. Yeah. So as a priestess, for me, it's about sacred witnessing. So I see you, I witness you. I turn up every day. You turn up for me. We witness each other's journeys. That's what we're doing as podcasters. We're being that witness. We're being that bard or whatever, in a way, telling that story. So I don't know. What does disclosure mean to you? That's a good question.
Disclosure to me is, when I hear the term soft disclosure, I'm thinking, okay, someone's testing the water and they're not ready to fully commit to the disclosure. So that's like kind of the proverbial dipping the toe in the water and seeing if it's, what it's going to be like. And the full disclosure to me is, you are aware of what's going on around you. You see the world for what it is. You see everything with open eyes, open mind, and no judgments around it, no attachment to what it could mean or outcome around it. And so there's like a freedom to that. And just when I hear the term disclosure, I feel like everyone wants to view it as, oh, the Venusians or the Martians or, the Alpha Centaurians are going to land their craft on the front lawn of a park and walk out and say, hey, we're here to help. And I'm like, I feel like that's the psyop to it in the false flag, because it's gonna be like that, but that's not what disclosure is. Disclosure is knowing that the Alpha Centaurians are out there, the Venusians are out there, the Martians, as we call them from Mars, are out there. It's not them appearing in front of us, walking out of a craft and saying hi. That's not disclosure. That's first contact.
Yeah, it's making me think about the Star Trek movies where they come to Earth, the one with the whales, and Spock is there,
Yeah.
and they have to hide his ears and run the bus and everything. And yeah, so they're just simple things like those ears, and he stands out a million miles. So that was good, and it's like because they cloaked the ship, and but we weren't ready then for a ship to land in the park, and we're not ready now. Although people have become desensitized for sure, they really have. So there's a lot of desensitization that's gone on. So you see lights in the sky, people are just like, oh, it's probably a spaceship now. People don't care anymore. They really don't care. So unless there was something big, like a massive dragon that started flying around, like in the Avengers movies, something's coming through a portal in the sky, people will still be like, oh yeah, there you go, it's just like Avengers. So they're so desensitized now, I think, anyway. But are they ready? Probably not. Are they ready to know that ETs means that there's trillions of humans off planet? Are they ready? I don't know. What do you think?
I think they are, but I also think they're not. And what I mean by that is the people who are meant to wake up and help facilitate the transition through the densities and the awakening process, as we call it, they're the ones who are going to be like, yeah, I see the spaceship. Yeah, this is, friend versus this is the group you may not want to hang out with,
Yeah.
They're not exactly known for being above board, so to speak, all the time. Or, yeah, this group, will help you at this cost. And so it's like we're kind of like the intermediaries to help navigate, who's coming through and for what purpose. Whereas you're going to have the other group of people who are, oh, look, there's, these aliens are here and they're going to save us and they're our saviors and they're going to worship them. And that's, sad and unfortunate, but that's their choice. And the job of those that are the people behind the disclosure and the, being awakened, no, yeah, we don't have to have you at the same level as us to do what we need to do. So we're okay leaving you where you are, worshiping them as a savior. We're going to focus on ourselves and our process over here. And I think that's what the split is going to be when they talk about, there's the world is going to split into two, so to speak, is you're going to have the disclosure movement people and you're going to have the people who are ready to go beyond disclosure.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that I believe that we are the ground crew. I do. I believe we've all woken at set times to pave the way for each other coming and going and stuff like that. So I do believe that. But I also believe that there's so much around us all the time, especially with the 5G towers. So when we had that pandemic, and then suddenly one day I was furloughed for 3 months. So I was working as a government contractor on a nuclear processing plant. So I was only off for 3 months, and then I had to start going back to work. And then suddenly one day I'm heading towards the train station, and there's this massive tower just in the street. So I stop, I take a photo of it. Somebody pulls up in their car and they say to me, "What's that, love?" I'm like, "I don't know, it must be some kind of phone tower or something." Right? I get on the train and go to work. And so all these things kind of happening around us. But working on that nuclear processing plant, there was a massive cloud above the location, which was a mile square. Every single day. I was on that site for 6 years. So I worked in construction for 10 years. I worked 6 years on a nuclear plant. There was a massive cloud overhead for 6 years. Okay, so I asked Audrey Walters about this cloud, and she confirmed that yes, that every nuclear facility on the planet has a ship above it, just in case it'll offset any nuclear disaster. Right now, if I can notice that same freaking cloud is over one place for 6 years, then I'm sure people can start to see that there'll be glitches in the matrix soon enough, and things will start to kind of show themselves little by little. When you see a cloud and it's got a flat bottom, complete giveaway. Right? It really is. So people will start to notice very slowly. I take a lot of taxis, lots of Uber, and I see that people are waking up. I get into the taxi and people start talking to me about shamanic practices just out of nowhere, right? And I did a course at the start of the year, and I thought, I'm not going to tell anybody who I am or what I do, because this course is completely unrelated. It's very real world muggle kind of thing. And people are sitting next to me talking and saying to me, "What do you think about tarot, love? Do you like tarot?" And this is a man, and I'm like, why are they talking to me about spiritual stuff? How do they even know? Like, I'm not dressed in a spiritual way. Like, you couldn't even, I ask every day, you couldn't even see this. It was like in my clothes. So people are waking up, and they can sense that. They could sense that my energetic field was different, that my vibration was higher. And it was bringing these questions out of them. One guy just started talking to me about a poltergeist in his house. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm trying to be reserved, but I start giving tips about things, and then on the very last day, after 5 weeks of training, I basically said, "Look, this is who I am. If you guys want to follow me, then go ahead." So I've kept it secret all this time, right? Basically, and try to be like a regular person, but that's dead hard for me. It's really hard. So I've been out of the corporate world for over a year, and I'm trying to get back into the corporate world. So, but I see that people are waking up. I see it all the time. I specialize in a way, in new people, or people who are having course corrections. They're the kind of people that I generally work with. People who used to love to do things that were spiritual, but then life took over and got in the way, and they're trying to get back onto their mystical wellness pathway. They're the people that are primarily drawn to me. But I do 4 different levels of work. So you might get people who come in and that are drawn in to do some kind of oracle class, or a retreat or something like that, and it starts to open up their spiritual pathways in their mind, and that'll lead to other things, or we can do like master level crystal therapy together or whatever. So yeah, I see people waking up. I'm hoping it's going to increase. I call it a quickening. I'm hoping the quickening is going to speed up soon, because I kind of see that. I get the feeling of the quickening. I don't know what you're going to say. Go on, say it. There can be only one.
Talk about the quickening. It's like Highlander comes to mind.
There can be only one, and there's a new Highlander coming out, isn't there?
Yeah. They're redoing the story.
Yes. But is that disclosure?
I think, in a way it is, on the grounds that, so for those who haven't seen the Highlander, I'll give you a brief example of what it is and what it's about, and how to me, its disclosure is, there's a race of beings who, if you follow the movie lore, come from another planet and are here on the earth, and they're born unto the earth or arrive through a teleport, but they cannot die. So they live for centuries or years, and what happens is they can sense each other around. It's like they get a vibration in their senses, and they feel when another immortal is around. And they call it a game because the prize is, there's only one that'll be left, and the one has a child born to them, if you follow the movies. And so the interesting thing where disclosure comes in is, yes, how they're here and living through time, but the way to kill the immortal is to take their head, but you don't actually kill them. You absorb their knowledge, their essence, and it lives in you. And so, to me, the disclosure in that is all these aspects of us being around, in different forms. If we just, take them back and assimilate them, it's the same thing. We're integrating them in. And so, these different aspects and different immortals, are you going to be the power hungry one? Are you going to be the peaceful one? Are you going to be the protector one? Or are you going to be the one who's like, I'm not going to play, and you try to hide until, you can't hide anymore? But the rule, too, is that gets broken, I believe, in one of the movies is holy ground is their only sanctuary until it's not. And so, to me, that's what makes Highlander disclosure is they can sense each other. They have, abilities beyond us because they can break a leg and they'll just get up and walk it off and it resets back to perfect health. They can be
So,
burned and the skin will just regenerate.
do you think that we sense each other, that we find each other by our psychic senses? Because I do, I think.
I think we kind of do because there is something about how we all connect and how we find each other. Because let's be honest, like you and I, we met on Facebook. We just saw
Yeah.
profile pictures,
Yeah.
but there was something in the pictures that said, hey, you're somebody I should talk to. There's something about you. So we accept the friend request and we start talking and we realize, wow, it's
Yeah.
really cool. We have a lot of great conversations. And so I think that's the kind of Highlander-esque
Yeah, I think with
feel to it.
especially with this with the programs, the special access programs, we don't always look like ourselves. So I connect into people's energetic signature, but I know not everybody can do that. So when I see somebody, you might be drawn to their energetic signature. They might not look the same because your altar might know their altar who looks completely different. Yeah, so I've got altars where I'm male, where I'm Japanese, when I'm German, and all these different things. So I don't always look the same. So somebody said, I think it was David Purcell who said to me last year, when you do a photo, take off your, or Matt Drager Reed, take off your glasses so people can see what you look like without glasses. And then they're more likely to connect in with you. So when I show without my glasses, I look really weird because nobody's used to me not having glasses. And, but you're more likely to connect in with somebody when they take off their glasses and you see them. And yeah, I was thinking about something and it's gone out my mind now. Missy Hill's in the chat and she was talking about the neuralizer, the mind wiping neuralizer. And that was, I have a lot of mind wipes. I do. And I even get documented because I have so many mind wipes. And for friends who are close to me, it's very frustrating that I have these mind wipes. And I'll say, can you tell me, let's talk about this. And they're like, we've already spoken about that. And I'm like, really? And but I talk about, I kind of go in circles of 3 months. And I'll revert back to the same information every 3 months, and I'll realize, oh, okay, I've already seen this, I've already done this, and I go in like 3 month cycles of mind wipes, and it's interesting. Yeah, I was going to say something, I completely forgot what else was. Now it's gone. So.
Oh, sorry. Well, you were talking about the mind wipes, and
yeah. Oh yeah, I was talking about finding each other. So it's so we find each other. So I always knew that somebody was missing from my life, but I didn't know who they were. I just knew that there should be somebody standing next to me and they were not there. right? So this was my dyad. This is the person I was bonded to, telepathically connected to, but they were not there and I didn't know who they were. So it was this time last year, basically, that I reconnected with that person, that other aspect of the super soldier, and I reconnected with Drago Reed. But then I also had a connection with the new skin, the Canadian super soldier, and I saw him on a podcast, and I listened to his words and I looked at him and my crown activated. He held a piece of my soul code and I held a piece of his soul code, right? And we did a swap. And when I asked Dr. Amir about it, he said, the Wisdom of Wivenhoe, he said that some things are so precious that you give them to a friend to safeguard over time. So when I saw him on screen, I'd never spoken to him before at all. We had some kind of swap of soul codes. It was insane. But we did an Akashic journey together privately, and we're actually Lyran brother and sister from like 300,000 years ago or something. It's insane. So we all find each other. That's where I was going. We all find each other energetically eventually. It does take some time.
Well, and I even have on occasion, you know how Facebook gives you the list of potential friends they think you may know. And there are times when it's like you have no friends, nothing in common, but they're on the list. And it's like, I kind of go, why are they on the list?
Yeah.
And I'll look, and sometimes I'm like, eh. But sometimes I'll be looking and I'll be like, I know this person. I don't
Yes.
know how I know them, but I know them. And I don't always send a friend request because part of me is like, let them see if they know me and wait for that moment to connect because I don't want to mess with their free will and everything.
Yes.
And
So
so,
sometimes I wait for people to reach out to me, but not a lot of people remember me. But those that do truly remember me having my hair a certain way, and they remember me having a particular personality. So I can tell if it's real or not, because those who truly know me don't really want to contact me.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, an interesting disclosure show because they're like Missy is talking about Puss in Boots and how they had the portals in the skies and the stone circles is the Sonic movies that they've done because he throws the ring up and he gets to go to any world, and it's like that is cool to be able to travel that way. And you just need a certain ring to go home and a certain ring to go to this world or that world.
Well, some of us are natural portal generators, so I do believe I've got that lineage as well because I'm Tuatha De Danann DNA, which is that Irish Celtic doorway DNA, basically. So some of us have that ability, and that's why we were so coveted as portal kids in the programs. Yeah, so we can do that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't. Spider bites, but Julia is scary. Yes, the alters of in the program are scary. They're not nice people. Watch out, she's put. So
Well, and
yes, be afraid. Be very afraid, guys.
what I find interesting too is talking about like being Irish Celtic and Scottish Celtic, or basically Celtic. I had this knowledge of this place, and it was Tir na Nog, and I was like, I could never find anything about it. And then one day, as I think it was a teenager or maybe young adult in my 20s, I stumbled on a show by Saban, The Knights of Tir na Nog, and I was like, and I started watching it, and I was like, that is so true. And it's like I would ask people in Ireland, I'm like, you know about Tir na Nog, right? And they're like, no. And I'm like, how do you not know this?
No, I'm literally Irish heritage. So my dad's mum was from Ireland, so I'm eligible for an Irish passport, basically, which I'll be applying for later in the year as well. But no, I've not heard of that.
And and what I loved about the show is they enter the Fey world by going to these like stone circle in the ground, and they get to deal with like the fairy king and deal with different elements. And the only thing that I would say kind of I was like you could tell was made it more of a cartoony type feel is how they took their armor, and it was like that was so cheesy how they were doing it, and I was like that's not right. That's not it was so much better the real way, and I'm like, yeah, not sure
Yeah.
how it would translate to, but
So it's making me think about the Labyrinth movie, which could probably have its own show, right? The Labyrinth
oh yeah.
movie. Yeah, really good. There's so much good stuff in that movie. I need to rewatch it actually. I remember getting scared in that movie. So I think that is definitely some kind of programming movie with David Bowie. And so Nathan's put the Mystic Knights of Ternagog for Spidey in there. He's saying,
Yes,
what's Michael saying? What's he saying?
that's the show. It's the
Nathan's on it.
Mystic they had,
Yeah.
and it was about the kingdom of Kells, and so many people, and you hear the book of Kells, but nobody knows about Tir na Nog, and I always find that so interesting.
Yeah.
And I looked it up. It's the land of the young in Irish terms.
Nice. I've not been to Ireland for a while. I do love Northern Ireland. I've been there twice to Northern Ireland. I've only been to Dublin once. So I've only been to, it was years ago. I think it must have been more than 30 years ago that I was in Dublin. And my sister was living out there because her husband's Irish. So she's like proper Irish family out there.
Yeah, and Missy is pointing out like Flash, Supergirl, Green Arrow, and how they all connect.
Yeah,
I think it's
Green Arrow. Green
interesting.
Arrow is a great show. Oh my god, I think I've watched Green Arrow twice. Yeah.
I actually liked though the Green Arrow in Smallville better because he had
I've
that
not seen
like
that.
rich kid bratty attitude, but
I
the
didn't make it all through
CW.
Smallville. I'm not sure why I couldn't really watch it. So I need to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, but one thing that you and I were talking about before we started about movies too, that's not disclosure related, but something that we've noticed is an interesting trend, and that is Disney for the last, I want to say, 2, 3, maybe a few more years. All their shows and movies have been taking the villains that we grew up with and now making you want to feel sorry for them and want you to be like, oh, they're not so bad. They were forced upon it. And I kind of think Wicked kind of started it where everybody saw the Wicked Witch, but then they were like, oh, well, she wasn't a Wicked Witch when she started. And now, you're like, well, maybe, we misjudged her. And I kind of had to wonder, and I'm curious your thoughts around why they want us now to sympathize with the villains and be like, oh, they're not so bad.
So a couple of years ago, when I had my wellness studio, I used to do crystal parties, and there was like an 8-year-old who wanted a Disney villain party. Right, so they're popularizing it, making it super cool. There's songs or whatever involved, and they're putting it out as TV shows for the younger market so they can start to embrace their dark side. Got a bit of a delay, so I hope that's 1 sec.
Yeah, you're talking about them. Oh, I think the internet might be having issues with going over there, but yeah, and I'm curious. everyone in the chat room, what do you think about how we're being told now the villains need to be sympathized with and not looked at as evil anymore, that they're just misunderstood or it was beyond their control. They were made that way or forced into that persona. I'm curious you all's thought about that. There she is. Now this is bizarre. She's back, but her speaker is not working, or the microphone is not working. That is so interesting. So while she figures that out, do you all think we need to look at the villains in a new way that we grew up with, or leave them as they are and focus on the other aspect? So I'm curious everyone's thoughts around that, because it is an interesting premise. Do we need to give compassion to them, or are they, through their actions, beyond compassion?
How about
Now we
now?
can hear you.
No, great. Okay.
So we were
Sorry.
discussing the villains being.
Yes. Yeah, so I don't know why they're desensitizing children to the villainous nature of things. So it used to be traumatic, the villain. Now they want the children to become the villain. They want them to think it's cool to be the villain. It's cool to be the bad guy. That bad guys have got feelings too. I don't know. So I try and stay away from Disney as much as I can. Like, my son didn't grow up with Disney at all. We lived in India and he grew up with things like Pakoyo, which is like with British accents and stuff like that. Or he grew up with Indian TV, and then it's all about the Indian gods as superheroes. So he grew up with that. So I didn't necessarily bring him into the kind of Disney world. I don't know, what's your take on why the Disney is desensitizing? Can you still hear me okay?
I can, and I kind of think it has to go with the woke programming and how they're trying to rewrite history and rewrite everything to create a different world. And I gotta wonder, because Disney being known as the land of the happiness, there's some dark aspects to Disney that people don't want to hear. And so I'm kind of wondering, are they trying to expose their dark side more and show people, this is what's going on here? And I mean, I watch Hallmark movies a lot with my mom because they're so heartfelt and make you feel uplifted. And Hallmark is now, for 2026, doing a movie with Disney. And I can't help but, feel like, do I want to watch it? Because I don't want to support Disney, but
Yeah.
why are they doing that? And, such a wholesome thing going to a not so wholesome thing.
I think there's also an aspect of these regressive forces are desperate. They're desperate. They want to get people on their side. So they want to lower their vibration. And the best way to do that is to get people watching scary stuff or negative stuff. Yeah. And if they can bring in a whole new generation of kids who think it's great to be the bully, it's great to be the bad guy, it's great to have a posse around you and all that kind of stuff, that bad guys have feelings too. Bad guys are cool because they do bad things, and it's like they're just targeting the younger people as like blatantly out in the open. They're targeting them with this kind of suggestive programming. Yeah, so they just don't care anymore. They're not being as secretive about things as much now. They're putting it right out there in the open. If we do not object, then we're consenting, right?
Right, and what I find interesting is, as much as Disneyland and Disney World, and I don't know about all the parks, around the world, they seem to be doing fine because they're growing new parks all the time, you hear. But at the same time, they're losing money through Star Wars. They're losing money on Disney Plus. Their movies are not selling like they used to. And I feel like as much as they tried to go woke and be a part of that culture in the time frame, it's biting them now because that movement has, I hate to say it, in my opinion, run its course, and it's no longer a culture that, has any relevance. And so what do you do when you're a studio and you put everything into it? You
Yeah, but
have to change it.
that's not how they make their money. That's their front. Okay, the parks and all that, their movies, that's their front. That's not how they make their money. They make their money off the rings, the trafficking and stuff like that. Yeah, the dark stuff. That's how they fund themselves, dark elites. So it's all just a
Right.
front, it's a cover. So people go to Disneyland because there's we get taken over there because there's an underground network of dark things happening over there. So, but it's a front, like let's all look happy and smiley and forget that Mickey Mouse is actually a ghost, right? And there's dark stuff going on there. Yeah, so it's just a front, it's just a cover.
Right, and that's what I was meaning is because like all the there's in the US, as much as, I'm not going political here, but as much as our country is factioned, there is one faction who is all about exposing and bringing down the rings, and there's a faction that is wanting to keep the rings going. And it's interesting to me how people will, on one hand, say, oh, this is evil and this is wrong. And then they turn around and vote for the people who are propagating it and keeping it going, and then wonder why is it keep going and that there's never any changes. And it's like, because you're supporting it without realizing you're supporting it.
Yes, yeah, I generally don't talk about this kind of stuff, but by not doing anything, by not saying that this is not right, then you are literally consenting. So like by eating eggs, then you're saying it's okay for your eggs to be eaten. By eating meat, it's saying it's okay for your meat to be eaten. There's that kind of thing going on in the world. If we don't object to something, it's taken as a contract of consent. Okay, and that's not something I generally go into, but because it's a bit darker than I like to go into on my channel. But that's
Right.
true. That's out there. Yeah. So the dark forces, they put everything out there for you to see. The regressives, they put it out in media, in cartoons, in movies, and we are not objecting to it. So therefore, we're consenting to it without realizing. Yeah.
I agree. And one of the things, though, that I find interesting with, talking about TV shows and movies with the disclosure is when we look at the old shows like V, Battlestar Galactica, there was a mix where there was good, there was bad, and, the good didn't always win, or there was a lot of suffering with the good. to eventually flip and become, make it good. So we knew it wasn't this panacea, one day is good, one day is bad, one day is good, that there's a process. But I like how we're getting movies now through Hollywood, as much as it's been corrupted, that are showing we can still overcome it. We're not too far gone. So they're bringing hope back. And one of the things that I find interesting, as much as, like Superman, as an example, we get so many different versions, some good, some bad, some that make no sense whatsoever. But everyone forgets the symbol on his chest. They say S for Superman. No, he clearly stated S is for hope. And so they're constantly putting hope out in front of you, and people just don't see it. And it's like,
hope can be a negative force as well, because you're always hoping for something better. You're actually in a state of limbo while you're hoping. You're not making it happen. You're just hoping one day, wishing, right? So hope can actually be a negative energy. It can. I know that's not popular, but it can be, because it stops you. You're just hoping. You're just thinking, oh, I hope this happens. I hope that happens. And you're not taking charge. You're not taking action of your life, because you're just hoping that the universe will make it right for you. And a lot of the times people are in hope for a really long time, ignoring the signs and synchronicities around them, ignoring. It's like that story about the guy who's in the flood and he's waiting for Jesus to save him. And I'm not religious in any way, but boats are coming by and he's saying, it's okay, God's gonna save me, God's gonna save me. And then he finally dies and he gets up and he's like, well, I sent you all these boats, I sent you all this help, So the guy was just in hope and he couldn't see what was right in front of him in a way. So that might be an unpopular opinion, sorry.
No, I agree.
So AnchorHaven gets darker at 3 a.m.
Hope, is a perception. It's an emotional state. And so if your intention of, like, to me, hope is the core within you that never can be taken away, that always lifts you up. That's, to me, that's hope. But yeah, I can also see hope of, hoping med beds come around and, enter the hospitals. Well, we've been hearing about med beds for 3-4 years now, or 6 years. Still haven't seen one. So it's like, yeah, there's an endless hope of, is this a wasted energy?
Phrase, an endless hope. People get stuck suspended in endless hope, and they are become a victim in a way. They're waiting for things to happen for them or to them, instead of taking charge and making it happen with everybody. Yeah, so
right. So yeah, I mean, hope is just like joy and happiness,
Yeah, but I know what you mean about the Superman symbol, that it is a symbol that people can look up to and aspire to be, to bring people together. That's the symbol of Superman. I've not watched that latest movie, by the way, where they downgraded his costume. What's that about?
I haven't either. And I watched the credits.
Henry Cavill wasn't ripped. He was fully ripped. We saw the work he put into getting that body. Henry Cavill is Superman as far as I'm concerned. And of course, Christopher Reeve as well. But I'm old enough to remember the original movies. Yeah.
Brandon Russo, I thought, did a good version of Superman. He was in Superman Returns, and it was interesting to see him being gone and come back and deal with, life moved on without me, and now I got to figure out how to reassert myself into this life.
Yeah.
Knowing everything that I had and wanted is now gone. What do I do? And there was one aspect of that movie, though, that I felt like it kind of made Superman a little creepy. Is when he's floating above her house
He's a
Lois's house,
stalker.
and
He's an absolute stalker.
he scans her and he goes,
X-ray vision. Yeah.
I'm always watching, and it's like, dude, that just landed so creepy.
Yeah. Superman is a stalker. You know what I did like though? The Dean Cain series of Superman and Lois. I really love that. I love that. I'm not sure if I've seen all of them, but I really love the early series. It was so good. I love Dean Cain as Superman. Yeah. Is that the right name? Yeah, it's been a while.
The CW doing Lois and Clark, I think, or was it Superman and Lois?
Yeah, Lois and Clark, I think they changed to in the end. Yeah.
It wasn't about Superman and Lois. It was about their twin sons.
Oh, okay.
And
I
I
was
like, that was an interesting twist. Mm-hmm. And dealing with one son who doesn't have powers and one that does, and what life's going to be like, and for them.
Do you see Spider Bite's comment there? Do you see that? Which is on my channel actually. So what was the movie where the boss of the company trapped the consciousness of a few of his workers? They were stuck in a spaceship and they trapped him in a separate ship forever, but they broke free.
That's I don't really know.
It's making me think about Power Rangers. I don't know why.
No, that wasn't. I don't think that was Power Rangers.
Because
they were never stuck in a spaceship. But that's a disclosure movie too, where they're tapping into an energy and able to armor up, and that's kind of what we do. But wow, that's a interesting. Yeah. I'd have to look that one up. I don't know that I've ever seen that.
So maybe Jason can catch that one.
But yeah, and so we are at the Jason says the Saban Power Rangers movie was pretty cool.
Oh, hey, it's James the Wizard Brickus. Hi, James. I think we're finishing off in a bit, aren't we?
Yes, we are wrapping it up, and so if anyone,
because 12 hours ago we did a 3-hour stream.
I know. So we had a full day of just the two of us.
I went to see the movie. I went to see Project Hail Mary. I went to see that, and that is about diplomatic relations. It's like because he's making that first contact with an alien species, developing a language together, how to work together, even though their environment's completely different, and then they sacrifice each other for themselves, for each other, sacrifice themselves for each other, and that's a great movie. It was a little bit slow for me because I'm very rapid these days, as you can probably tell. So my mind is like rapidly working, and it's been a while since I've sat in the cinema, but I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. So I finally got to go to the movies.
Spider Bite is telling us.
Yeah.
The boss.
I really don't know what movie that is. I don't know.
The main woman heard a clicking and realized they were resetting the computer system, so they had a few seconds window to escape.
Hold on. Network. Is this an episode of Black Mirror? You know that episode of Black Mirror when they're on that ship? When I think this is an episode of Black Mirror where he's taken their DNA and he's recreated them on a ship, and then he goes in. What was it called, Jason? Hold on, let me just.
Black Mirror.
Yeah.
They said no, it was a movie.
Oh, it was a movie. Okay, because it sounds like that.
Well, some
Black
of these
Mirror
shows
episode, the USS Callister episode. It sounds like that. That's the only episode of Black Mirror that I know. Because it's closely resembling Star Trek, so I've watched it.
Yeah, she says that sounds right, though.
Yeah.
But a series to me that was, I'll say real quick before we close up, that is total disclosure and nothing but disclosure, and in a way that surprised the hell out of me, because I'd seen snippets of the originals, but I joined it with number 9 and followed through most of it. Doctor Who.
Oh, okay. Now my Doctor Who is limited to like Doctor number 7, I think he is, which is Sylvester McCoy, like 30 years ago, whatever. So yeah, I'm quite limited for my Doctor Who. So I know Aurora, we tried to have a conversation, but she's like Doctor 13 and I'm number 7, so we just couldn't really gel on it. But yeah, I grew up watching Doctor Who, but when I started traveling, I stopped watching. So yeah.
Yeah. Spider-Bite says it might have been Black Mirror.
Okay. Who is your favorite Doctor?
You know, I love being asked that because the Doctors are such different aspects in each reincarnation, or regeneration as they call it. But my top 2, I thought Christopher Eccleston did not get justice. He had 1 season, and it just, the way he did it brought, I think, a whole new generation to the show, because that was my first Doctor, and it's so
he's the ninth Doctor, it says.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. So.
And then the 10th Doctor, David Tennant.
Yeah.
He just, it was like he embodied it, and I love the connection that his wife is in the Doctor Who as his daughter.
Wow, that's cool.
And his dad, or not his dad, but his wife's father, is a doctor.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's super cool. Hey, do you know, this is a bit of a tangent, but have you watched Lucifer?
I did watch that.
Oh, I love that show. I know I'm not meant to, but I love that show. It's such a really good detective comedy show. But his dad is actually a priest. His dad is like a pastor, and he was in the church choir and all that, and then now he's playing Lucifer. That's so weird, but it's a good show. There's a good story there. There really is good morals to it in the end. Yeah, because it shows that even again, it's taking the bad person and making them look good, making you want to sympathize with the bad person, isn't it? Yeah. Oh my word, we've just done full circle there. So
we did, and so. Talking about coming full circle, you know, we started this talking about a lot of what you do and everything. So where can people, if they have questions or want to learn from you, where is some places they can find you and get a hold of you?
So I'm not doing very much on Facebook at the moment because I just don't like the energy over on Facebook. So my personal account, I'm trying to deactivate my personal account, but I do have a Facebook page, which is AnchorHaven Alchemy. My YouTube channel, I'm live pretty much every day. We do an early AM show, and I do a Friday night evening live as well, so we kind of get together. My website, anchorhaven.co.uk, will take you direct to my Patreon now. So I'm changing the way I'm working. I've got rid of my other websites, going full on into Patreon. So that's where my online shop is, which is a Reiki shop. Basically, it's an energy activation shop. You can book in sessions with me as well if you want to have a consultation, a one-to-one. If you want to talk about SSP and things like that, we can do a debrief session where, you know, as you're talking, maybe I'll be getting things through, or I can just guide you on how to kind of move into certainty. So I have a certainty framework that I'm developing to help people who are targeted individuals, MILABs or super soldiers, or whoever you identify, to look for the certainty in your life, the things that you can control. Because as a targeted individual who's been in the TIRAP program since I was born, that targeted individual research advanced projects was created for a few of us, like myself and Drago Reed. That program was created for us to keep tabs on us. So my whole life has been targeted. So I've been starting to develop ways of living that are stable and grounded, so I can see what's going on around me. So I can help you with things like that if you want to move into certainty. So anchored in certainty. But yeah, check out my Patreon. So I'm also on Spotify. So my podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcast, to that kind of thing. And I've got my Instagram, which I'm trying to get back into more. But primarily my website will take you directly to my Patreon. So if you want to message me, you can do that, or you can just send a message to info@anchorhaven.co.uk. But yeah, do book in with me if you can. I've got a discount on my personal services right now, and we can do card readings together, or you can have a distance card reading for less than $20, and I send you an audio recording, and I can really get into it. But if you wanted to have a healing session, or even do an Akashic record journey where I guide you with my voice, I have an activating voice. It activates the DMT in your mind to help you journey. So if you're the kind of person that can't relax or can't meditate, my voice is designed to activate you in that way so that you can go deeper within. I also do evening groups on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Saturday, which are on Zoom. So anybody who has a membership on my Patreon or on my Substack, then you will get the Zoom links to join my evening groups, which are 8 o'clock UK time, which is 3 o'clock Eastern. And these are just connection groups. So we get together, 3 times a week. And it's as little as, say, like £6 or $6. Not sure how much it is now, to be honest. And but yes, we get together, we pull some cards, we chat within the group. The group is full of amazing spiritual people. It's a small group. And so it's not just me talking all the time. Hopefully everybody gets to contribute. We do cards, or we do breath work, we do meditation journey. So we have a Mindful Monday, Awakened Wednesday, and Akashic Records Saturday. So on Saturdays, I always work with the Akashic Oracle, which are these particular cards, and we look at the messages, themes, and energies that are supporting you or limiting your life right now. And if there's limiting energy, then I work with the Pendulum Alchemy to clear that out for you and replace it with something more successful, a success anchor to support you as you move forward with ease and joy. There you go.
Very cool. And so be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along both our channels, because we have a tendency to pop up on each other's stuff, and so we collaborate a lot, and we could just keep going and going. And yeah, we recently did a record 3 hours, and it's like,
which was a lot of fun. We covered a lot of stuff.
Oh,
I
it
think
was.
it was, and the chat was on fire. So yeah, I love my guys in the chat. They really fire things up. So it's really cool.
And so my hope in ending this one is everyone has a calm, peaceful day and evening, and so nothing triggering.
So James is saying, am I doing an early morning show Thursday? It is Thursday. This is the Thursday. So I put yes, and then I thought, well, actually, no, because that's in like 2 hours. So what do you think, guys? Should I do a show in 2 hours' time? Should I do a recap? I might go live on my channel for a small amount of time, and we'll see. So anybody who didn't catch this, then they'll catch me on the AnchorHaven channel in the next 2 hours. No, because I'm probably still awake. I don't sleep. I get targeted at night time. So I generally have like a meditation in the middle of the day when I like conk out. And yeah, so it's already Thursday in Australia. It's already Thursday in the UK here. So it's quite funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be back on in a couple of hours. I think I'm going to stay awake now. Yeah, well, cool. Sorry.
No, thank you for coming on, and thank you for filling in tonight. And I think it was an amazing show for being kind of put together at the last minute, and I was
I generally don't do a lot of guest shows because I don't like to talk about myself that much. I'm trying to get comfortable talking about myself because I've got 2 conferences coming up. One is the Gina Virginia Casella conference in June, which is an online conference, which you'll also be moderating. And you were speaking last time. This time I'm speaking. And the next big conference is the Bases 2026 International Disclosure Conference with Miles Johnston. So I'm on team bases. I work behind the scenes supporting Miles, and I do all the graphic design for the images and the program, and I support the event while I'm there as well. So that's coming up in June, but I should be doing a talk, an SSP talk, a talk about the special access programs, like an introduction for everybody, but we'll just see. I'm not promising that it's definitely going to happen because everything's up in the air with bases right now, because we've got people flying in from all over the world. So until I get that confirmed list of speakers, I know Sean Bond is meant to be coming from Mexico, and Isha's coming. They're coming from Mexico, so that's going to be amazing. And but yeah, basis for the next one. So I need to get comfortable talking about myself and talking about these special access programs that we're all involved in the SSP.
Yes, and so I will end with a message for you, and that is from my heart and the heart of my shows to you. Thank you for what you're doing for humanity. It's seen, felt, and heard, so it's appreciated. So thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And thank you to everyone for chiming in the chat room and participating. And I know we didn't get to all the questions and all the comments, but we got to all the ones we could. And so thank you so much for coming and tuning in on this episode. And join us for future episodes. And do check out AnchorHaven's channel. She has great shows on there as well. And with that, I'm going to wish everyone a wonderful night or day in the case of being in the UK. So have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.